intellectual stimulation ahead. She blinked. Apparently 8-year-old Evangeline wasn't usually quite so verbose. "Don't be impertinent, child," she snapped, but there was uncertainty in her voice. "His Grace doesn't tolerate tardiness." "Then by all means, let's not keep his broodiness waiting," I muttered under my breath as I followed her down the hallway. The Duke's mansion was exactly as pretentious as I'd imagined. All dark wood, expensive paintings, and the general ambiance of "I have more money than God" and the personality of a funeral. Mrs. Hartwell knocked on the library door. "Lady Evangeline, your Grace." "Enter." And there he was. Duke Aldrich Blackthorne, in all his fictional glory. Tall, dark, and glowering, sitting behindly offended by the existence of joy. His black hair was perfectly styled, his jaw could cut glass, and his eyes were the color of a stormy sky. You know, all that romance novel nonsense. In the book, this was where Evangeline would typically cower and stammer, while he ignored her existence. Where she'd sit quietly through lessons while he made cutting remarks about her intelligence and breeding. Yeah, that wasn't happening. "Ah, Duke Blackthorne," I said cheerfully, plopping myself into the chair across from his desk, with all the dignity of a sack of potatoes. "Lovely morning, isn't it? Perfect weather for traumatizing children, I imagine." He looked up from his papers, and I swear I saw his eye twitch. "I beg your pardon?" "Oh, nothing," I said innocently, swinging my little legs since they didn't reach the floor. "I was just commenting on the weather. Though I suppose when you spend all your time brooding in dimly lit rooms, you wouldn't know much about that." The silence stretched on for several heartbeats. Mrs. Hartwell made a strangled noise behind me. "Lady Evangeline," the Duke said slowly, "are you feeling quite well?" "Oh, I'm feeling fantastic," I chirped. "Never better, actually. Though I do have some questions about my education." "Questions?" He set down his quill, giving me his full attention for what was probably the first time in little Evangeline's life. "Yes, well, I was wondering, in between lessons on deportment and watercolors, will we be covering any practical skills? You know, like how to manage an estate, basic accounting, legal matters? Or are we sticking to the traditional, how to be decorative and useless curriculum?" Mrs. Hartwell gasped audibly. The Duke's eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. "You are 8 years old," he said, as if this explained everything. "A tragic condition that will resolve itself with time," I replied solemnly. "But my brain works just fine, thank you. In fact, I'd argue it works better than most of the adults in this house, considering none of you seem capable of treating a child with basic human decency." And there it was, the conversation that was never going to happen in the original book. The moment when someone finally called out the casual cruelty that everyone just accepted as normal. The Duke stared at me like I'd suddenly sprouted a second head, which, given the circumstances, would have been less shocking than a coherent argument coming from his previously silent ward. "Furthermore," I continued, warming to my theme, "I've been thinking about my position in this household. Legally speaking, as your ward, you have certain responsibilities toward my well-being and education.